I literally just finished the first episode of The Mandalorian. I'm still looking at the directed by Dave Filoni screen right in front of me, and I have to say, man, I am on cloud nine with this first episode. Everything about it, there's subtle Easter eggs all throughout it, especially the beginning there, kind of settling you in. I saw Brian Posehn. I was like, is that Brian Posehn? How random. There's pee jokes with a vac tube. So much of the first half of this episode was just so reminiscent of the original trilogy, the cantina scene in A New Hope. From the very beginning opening scene to the subsequent cantina scene where the Mandalorian goes to turn in his bounties, which was just a fantastic all-around scene. We get to learn about this bounty hunting guild, which I love as a concept, and it comes into play later on in the episode. But man, this just encapsulates everything that I've always loved about Star Wars. The nitty-gritty, the used and abused universe, the bounties, the smugglers, the blasters. That's what I think of when I think of Star Wars, you know, the cantinas, the dirt and grime. And this man, holy hell, this was fantastic. Werner Herzog's character appears to be a leader and a faction of the Imperial remnant. You know, he has stormtrooper guards. He's putting together a bounty for the Mandalorian to go after, paying him extremely well. There's no puck that shows the face and the information of the bounty. It's a secret. Discretion is required of who this bounty is for. So the Imperial remnant that we see there with Werner Herzog, right there is just enough to be incredibly intriguing. I don't know if, you know, that I'm assuming that entire subplot of the Imperial remnant will come into play, judging by what happened at the end of this episode. But man, I enjoyed this even more than I anticipated I would. We see a little bit of Mandalorian lore with the tribe, and there's a blacksmith there smelting the Imperial credits, or the Imperial, I don't exactly know what you would call that, down into Mandalorian armor, which I found interesting. I don't know if that is, I'm not familiar with that. I'm assuming that's been something that's been covered in canon before, if they're doing that, or maybe that's something new for the show. Regardless, it's interesting. We see a little bit of the Mandalorian tribe. And in that scene, when the blacksmith is smelting and hammering out armor and stuff like that, it gives us just kind of a perfect flashback scene. You know, it's the flashback scene isn't long and drawn out. What we're shown is very subtle. With every hammer hit, we see a split second, flashback of the Mandalorian being what he calls a foundling. And I'm assuming foundlings, which are like, I guess, orphans or kids on the street. It appears that they take them in. The foundlings, they take them in. And we see flashbacks of the Mandalorian in the street, in chaos. And this is the scenes that we saw in the trailer with the old Clone Wars tech. So these are flashbacks. Something that I did not anticipate, but I love the way they did because it's subtle, it's quick, it's really well done. The entire episode, all the characters that we meet were fun. I expected to see them more, but the episode had a really nice pace to it, from location to location to character to story beat to story beat, and it kind of followed a really nice path that didn't feel too rushed, didn't feel too sluggish, kept up a really solid pace. And when the Mandalorian got to the destination where he's to find this expensive bounty, he meets a guy who saves his life, teaches him to ride the blurg, this creature, to this encampment. And the reason that this character is helping the Mandalorian is because since this encampment came to be, since all these people came to this location, they've caused havoc, and there's been mercenaries out and about, and the people of the region, he said, want peace. And the Mandalorian, he believes, will swiftly take care of the problem. So he's helping him out. He wants these people gone. I like it. The Mandalorian is the gunslinger in the Wild West who's there for quick and swift justice. And maybe sometimes he is used, his skills are used for someone else's personal gain without him really knowing the moral effects of what his actions will cause. Anyway, I love this entire encampment scene. The Mandalorian meets this IG unit, this droid, and it's a funny scene, and it's interesting. It's interesting to me because the way he gets the IG unit to stop blasting is to say that he's a guild member. There's that bounty hunting guild coming back. I think that's going to play a really, really interesting and fun part in this entire series. But once the IG unit discovers that the Mandalorian is a part of the guild, he stops firing and they start working together. They're both looking for the same bounty. The running gag with the self-destruct initiative was hilarious. I giggled every time, that was brought up. It was just kind of a running gag, and I thought it was really funny. And every promotional thing that we've seen in the show had me thinking that the Mandalorian and this IG unit would be teaming up together. From the get-go, we learned that the Mandalorian isn't a fan of droids. He doesn't like droids. He doesn't want a land speeder that's piloted by a droid. So it kind of sets the tone for what he thinks of droids. But we think he's turned a corner in the end, because this IG unit helped him out. The IG unit seems okay. I think that's what the Mandalorian says. You're okay, or something like that. And you think that they're going to be a team. You think that this IG unit you're going to bond with this IG unit, and he's going to be the sidekick. And in the end, when we discover what the bounty is, everything changes. And what the bounty is, and spoilers here, I'm assuming you guys have seen it. If you haven't, you probably should have paid attention to the video title, because there's spoilers in here. But the bounty is a baby. And not only a baby, the bounty is a Yoda baby. Not Yoda himself, but the same species as Yoda. And apparently this baby is 50 years old. We call it a baby, but Yoda's species lives a very long time. But not much is known about Yoda's species. It's one of the things that hasn't really been explained in all of Star Wars. There's not much known about it. But here's this little Yoda species baby. And the IG unit says, the person that put him on this bounty wanted this bounty terminated. And the IG unit goes to shoot the Yoda baby, and we get a flash, and all of a sudden we see the IG unit drop, and the Mandalorian just blasted him in his bucket. And then there's a side profile of the Mandalorian, the baby kind of reaching out and like touching fingers almost. So everything that was gearing up that looked like, a droid and a bounty hunter, the Mandalorian relationship, a sidekick, just got flipped. And it was a fantastic twist on multiple fronts, on multiple levels. But damn, man. Like I said, I like this a lot more than I was even anticipating. I want to watch it again. It left on such an interesting note. Everything about the show, from the very subtle Easter eggs, to the addition of lore, to the style, to the visuals, even the music. The music almost felt a little Blade Runner to me at times, with a hint of spaghetti westerns and Dollar Trilogy. Everything about the show reminds me of what I love about Star Wars. My favorite Star Wars movie is A New Hope. And damn, this just hits me right in the nostalgia that I have for that. I'm pumped. The episode was great, especially the pacing. Pacing was fantastic. 40-minute show, felt nice and concise, not too fast, just perfect. Anyway, if you guys have seen it, let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. I cannot wait for the second episode of The Mandalorian. I'm gonna go ahead and tell all my friends to watch it. 2 big thumbs up. Time to watch it again. HelloGreedo, out.